International Custom Day being celebrated across the world to celebrate custom officers who have worked so hard in protecting borders. If you look back, there are two ways to protect the boundaries and the borders of countries. The immigration is one side, while custom officers are on the other side. LRA Custom Commissioner Mr. Sir Samoa, who happens to be the current head of this unique group of Liberian professionals, recognizes the role of person custom officers and agencies operating in Liberia as regards maintaining border security. Mr. Samoa underscores the need for government's attention to the present condition and challenges of officers and agencies as to discharge their respective duties at the different borders across the country. This day, since 1953, was set up by the Customs Corporation Council and then moving into the WCO in 1994. So Liberia, being part of the Committee of Nations, is joining the process of celebrating custom officers' work across the borders in Liberia and quote unquote for the entire world. This is the Monrovia City Hall where this event is taking place. I want to say you are so much welcome for joining us for this elaborate program, which is all about Liberia and the world at large. It has begun with the march in the streets, with everybody participating, meaning the pomp and pageantry forming part of a great occasion that is graced by dignitaries from all walks of life, including the Commissioner General of the Liberia Revenue Authority, Madam Afrida Stewart Tamba. My name is Elvin Jask, and thanks so much for joining us. You're welcome. The day is International Custom Day, being celebrated right here in Monrovia, Liberia, and the venue, as you see in the back, is the Monrovia City Hall.
On behalf of the Commissioner General of the Liberia Revenue Authority, the Executive Management Team, and every custom officer across Liberia, I wholeheartedly welcome you to another historic occasion commemorating the 66th International Customs Day celebration in Liberia. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the World Customs Organization is the voice of the 182 member administrations responsible for the processing of 98% of global trade. This has been made possible with the sacrifice of custom officers across the world, many of whom have endured difficult working circumstances to keep our borders and the global supply chain safe. In recognition of this sacrifice, I ask all custom officers and all custom brokers to stand with me as we observe a moment of silence for fallen officers and custom brokers in Liberia, some of whom in the last 4 years passed on while on official duty. Thank you, you may be seated. As I close, this year we celebrate the 66th International Customs Day on the theme, a secure business environment for economic development. We are happy to reflect on gains made over the last few years in transforming and modern customs through automation, process simplification, and development of skills of our officers and mid-level managers to facilitate cross-border trade and keep the international supply chain safe. We have graduated from being net recipient of technical assistance to contributing to the capacity building of other customs administrations in the framework of customs to customs cooperation. This is evidenced by the 3 technical missions undertaken by our middle-level managers over the last year to assist the Nigerian Customs Service in the area of post-clearance audit, the Rwanda Customs in the area of customs performance measurement, and a technical mission with the WCO in Canada for the development of a post-clearance audit guide for use by member administrations. We would like to thank our major development partners, including the African Development Bank, the European Union, the International Monetary Fund, the United Nations Development Program, USAID, for the gains made so far in customs, for contributing to the gains made so far in customs. We also recognize the challenges that lie ahead to meet the demands of the business community to further improve our trade facilitation measures, while at the same time protecting the national revenue and our borders to engender economic development. To the business community, we pledge our full commitment and energy to meeting your expectations in the area of trade facilitation over the next 11 months before we return here again next January to recount the gains.
Let me commence by voicing my appreciation to all of you for being here today to join us in a celebration of International Customs Day. Under the 2018 theme, customs organizations around the world are encouraged to take stock of their work and consider what additional measures can be taken to enhance lawful trade facilitation. In addition to facilitating trade for economic development, customs in Liberia contributes about 42% of domestic revenue to the national budget. Customs is responsible to contribute to the fiscal budget this year, US $200 million. As at December 31st, Customs have collected $104 million, or about 52% of We want to use this platform to commend our customs for having achieved to date 52% of its contribution to the national budget. Customs officers and, by extension, the brokers, have a national responsibility to ensure that trade across our national borders is lawful and that goods entering and leaving our customs territory through the international supply chain conform to the law, are safe, and are not detrimental to the security of the state, the region, and external custom territories. Our vision is to have a transformed and modern customs with stronger integrity, more fully automated, adhering to international customs, including regulatory and service performance standards. Liberia has commenced the transformation process. There is certainly much more to be done, and we are very conscious of all of the desires. Funding and technical capacity are key challenges. Notwithstanding, we at the LRA and the national stakeholders remain committed unwaveringly to the attainment of the national vision. To attain the vision, our nation must invest and deploy the necessary technology and also invest in the required infrastructure to support the technology and the human access. Key technological projects LRA is currently undertaking in order to help attain the vision are the upgrade of Asekuda, and we'd like to say that all of the projects that we will name, the procurement processes for all of the projects are on the way. Upgrade of Asekuda, that is currently on the way. The new version of Asekuda is web-based and will be accessible from anywhere once there is access to the internet. This means brokers and businesses with access to Asekuda will be able to file declaration from anywhere in the world. This upgrade is expected to be launched in February. The testing and training of internal and external users, including the brokers, are currently ongoing. A consultant is currently in country under EU support for the next 2 weeks to conduct practical hands-on training to facilitate smooth transition. Pilot testing of 3 businesses will commence on Monday. This upgrade is expected to enhance efficiency. A key component of the upgrade is the centralized processing of customs declaration. This will be a paperless platform that will enable the processing of declarations and assessments via the internet. That is, all documents related to declarations and assessment processing will be scanned and processed through electronic exchanges. This transformation will reduce costs as processing will be electronic. National Electronic Single Window. This is a trade facilitation system which will enable businesses to submit regulatory documents using a single platform. This system will increase efficiency through reduction in time and cost for dealing with various regulatory agencies which are involved in international trade, that is importing and exporting. Another key transformation project is the transition from PSI to DI. PSI being pre-shipment inspection and DI being destination inspection. This transition will be phased and will occur over the medium to long term. The necessary state-of-the-art infrastructure have to be built, including a destination inspection facility. The acquisition of non-intrusive equipment, namely high-power industrial-grade scanners, valuation database, amongst other requirements. Also to be introduced is the excise stamps. This is the affixing of secure revenue stamps to excisable goods. And the benefits include better business playing field and fairer field for all, protection of consumers against counterfeit products, protection of importers and manufacturers by controlling smuggling and combating illicit trade, protection of the national revenue by ensuring the payment of excise tax on all excisable products. Meanwhile, other efforts include the establishment of a compliant trader program, which the Customs Department is currently implementing, strengthening internal technical capacity with the assistance of many of our donors led by the EU, streamlining of procedures, which is a continuous, ongoing and dynamic process, and the establishment of clear key performance indicators for service delivery. The road to transformation and achieving the customs, having the customs we all want in Liberia is not a short road. The joining is long, the joining will take time, and we need the commitment of all, including the internal and external stakeholders, in order for us as a country to achieve our desire of a transformed and modern customs with very high integrity, equipped and performing their tasks consistent with international best practice. And to achieve this, we need the support, the collaboration, and the cooperation of all parties involved in the chain. I take this platform to express profound thanks and appreciation to the EU and the African Development Bank, they being the two prime donors supporting the transformation and modernization of customs. They are principally involved in helping to build the technical capacity of our customs staff. I also herein record our thanks to all other donors, including USAID through the ROG3 project, GIZ, UNDP, the United Nations, CEDA, IMF, Tax Inspector Without Borders, and all of our donors involved and contributing in supporting the work of the LRA. The LRA remains committed to attaining the change that we as a people need in the subsector of revenue administration. Thank you.
Under the theme, a secure business environment for economic development. I won't go much into the celebration of International Customs Day itself, but I'd like to pick from the theme and from the mission statement of the WCO. The WCO provides leadership, guidance, and support to customs administrations to secure and facilitate legitimate trade, realize revenues, protect society, and build capacity. Protect society and build capacity. Liberia has been a member of the WCO since 1975 and have made recognizable steps in conforming to this mission and vision. The role of customs in the Liberian economy. While Liberia has made significant domestic progress over the last 12 years, we made even more significant strides in reintegrating the global trading system. This includes, but not limited to, our acceding to the WTO, the World Trade Organization, regularizing our membership to the World Customs Organization and other global institutions, and participating in accords such as the ECOWAS Common External Tariff that are intended to promote trade and ease the flow of goods across the borders. Through these engagements, the support from our development partners, we've developed sound policies and regulations. We've also developed our capacity to enable trade and promote Liberian entrepreneurship. Among these, we have been custom reforms, the development of contemporary trade, SME, and industrial policies, and the restructuring of the revenue department. There are still opportunities to improve, especially in terms of technology. For example, putting in place what Madam Tapa spoke about, a fully functional electronic single window system that will link customs, traders, and trade-related agencies will significantly improve efficiency and trade facilitation. At this point, I'd be remiss if I don't congratulate the LRA and you, our custom officers, for your evolution over the years and the role this body plays in sustaining the economy and supporting development. Ladies and gentlemen, if you look back to the state of the Bureau of Customs 12 years ago, if you look at the level of integrity, the current conditions, and dismal progress made by other agencies of government, and if you understand just how much the functioning of the Liberian government and economy depends on custom receipts, you'll join me in recognizing that the LRA has become an example to follow. I congratulate you. We might hate you some days, but most days we appreciate you. Manatamba, you and your team are irreplaceable. Now, the environment for economic change, development. Albeit the many advancements we've made over the last decade, as a country we've faltered on effectively implementing the policies and actions that will foster a sustainable economy. Thus, we haven't been able to effectively harness our comparative advantages and develop our economy and society as we should. Whatsoever advancements we've made have been marked by budgetary deficits, trade deficits, fiscal mismanagement, eroded progress in creating a business-friendly environment. Undeniably, the woes of our economic problems have not been revenue generation in the context of the effectiveness of customs. First and foremost, limited revenue sources continue to affect government's ability to implement our own development plan. While insignificant investments in manufacturing or production for export, our trade is far in the negative. This continues to affect foreign exchange flows, it promotes capital flight, and economic expansion. Additionally, several lapses now limited to inefficiencies in the budget process, politicizing of government functionaries, corruption, and a bloated administration systematically reverse true gains and impede a sustainable economic development. The system has been further pressured by a serious disconnect between the revenue system and the expenditure policies that should have brought into synergy priority actions of the National Development Plan. Our socio-economic state after 170 years of existence is a testament that we need to revisit our way of thinking, our priorities, and the structures in place that are responsible to implement our development agenda. The facts are clear. According to CBL data between 2008 and 2016, 9 years, Nigeria recorded only 2 positive budgetary years. A measure 1.2% of GDP in 2008 and 0.06% in 2010. Between those years, we fluctuated with an average of negative 0.88% and a record low of negative 8.4% in 2015. During the same period, we experienced an average trade deficit of minus 78% of GDP. Our best performance was negative 56.34%, while our worst was as bad as minus 110%. Now one may ask how astronomical these percentages are. In 2016, Liberia's trade deficit was over $1.1 billion. With regards to ease of doing business, which is very important, we ranked 172 amongst 190 economies in 2017. Liberia averaged 160.70 between 2008 and 2017, reaching an all-time high of 180 in 2014 and a record low of 144 in 2013. Some people might celebrate this, but I don't do mediocre. And in context, it is either we are ready to do business or we are not. And if we are, we must change these numbers. They deter foreign investment as well as domestic entrepreneurship. This encapsulates the challenges we face daily in the process of doing business, speaking from a business perspective. The constant inspections by multiple agencies, many times repetitive, various fees paid government agencies without any return or benefits are discouraging. I always like to use one example as an owner of a hotel that never fails to disappoint me. The Ministry of Information, who pay annual fees as hotels. Yet for the past 12 years, I have not seen a single brochure, a single leaflet, or a flyer emanating from the Ministry of Information that supports any hotel, restaurant, or even highlight the amount of hotels or restaurants we have in Liberia. I'm not talking about annually. I will be grateful if I see something after every 3 years. In such an economic state, like most least developed countries, Liberia is still heavily dependent on custom receipts. The enforcement function of the LRA, which is understandable due to our circumstances, sometimes only increase the complexities and imposes additional strains on the business community. This too overrides our ability to effectively implement other aspects of LRAs and customs mandates. Taken directly from the WCO website, the word secure in the theme of this year's WCO celebration refers to creating an environment that is enabling, safe, fair, sustainable, all wrapped in one. Such an environment will help businesses, especially micro, small, and medium enterprises, to expand their activities and create incentives for them to participate more fully in international trade, as well as encourage them to innovate, generate employment, and invest in human resources, thereby boosting economic growth and raising living standards. My question to everyone is, how much of this have we achieved? All efforts reflecting our theme today must be to secure our business environment. Liberia might never in our lifetime be a producer of cars, be noted for global financial services, or by global terms be an industrial nation. However, our development strategy must center around our comparative advantages. That is what we have, what we know, or what we can do best. In Liberia's case, our comparative advantages are our people and our natural resources. Support must be given to the creation of a vibrant industrial Liberian middle class. The national development strategy must focus on empowering Liberians to venture into agriculture, agro-processing, and developing value chains around our resources for export, safety, and national security. National safety and national security, in a sense, self-sufficiency through the local production of healthy foods, health products, and daily consumables must be encouraged. Relevantly, a concerted effort by the relevant agencies will be placed on securing the borders and ports to prevent illicit and illegal importation of goods that will undermine safety and security and undermine local goods. This year's theme, again as a pull directly from the WCO website, points to unleashing the potential of women in business, of female entrepreneurs as a means to enhance enterprise development, create more employment, and alleviate poverty. Administrative actions must be developed to protect and encourage Liberian entrepreneurship and investments in food production. As I mentioned earlier, a recent investment of mine is a clear example of where the government has failed to encourage local entrepreneurship. I invested over $1.2 million in probably the first Liberian-owned beverage plant of such size. However, we lost every single appeal for protection and support as the government has succumbed to pressure from importers of beverages to totally eliminate water and juices, from the administrative regulation that impose surcharges on imported goods that are manufactured locally. How does this actually help Liberia or secure a business environment for economic development? Such minor support by the government towards a Liberian investment of such nature foster food security, help sustain a nascent investment in the agro-processing sector that has been a priority, help improve Liberia's balance of trade, and provide market access to many farmers and food processors, many of whom are women, who will benefit from selling the fruits to the beverage plant. This lack of action by the government only benefits the foreign importers of beverages, many of which are of poor quality. Now I'm compelled to compete with extremely poor quality products and juices, some of which are produced in West African sub-region, brought through the borders under the CET provisions. How are we going to compete? How can we maintain quality and remain profitable? Already as a measure of keeping afloat, we determined that purchasing ginger powder from India will be far more economical and timely than purchasing them from farmers who have been supplying us. Liberia has relied on the exportation of our raw materials for decades. Clearly, this model has not fostered sustained economic growth and supported Liberians taking charge of the economy. In fact, prosperity has been an illusion centralized in Monrovia and benefiting only a few people. Historically, Liberians were respected traders. Respectively, one cannot fathom how we've evolved and grew, and never grew concomitantly with our age and the resources we have. To provide a historical context, from 1840, Liberians supplying British with palm oil, Liberia started supplying British with palm oil products. This period marked the beginning of Liberia's entry into the world trading system as a producer and an exporter. Coffee and palm oil were our primary cash crops. This led to the encroachment of Liberia's territory and loss of considerable lands to the British and French colonies of Sierra Leone, Cote d'Ivoire, and Guinea. In response to the British insistence that the Commonwealth of Liberia be restricted from exercising powers reserved for state, including collecting taxes, and fearing that conflict over sovereignty might escalate into forceful annexation, Liberia issued a Declaration of Independence to the world in 1847. Driven in large by the stimulus of international trade and global industrial expansion, the Liberian economy diversified in the mid-19th century. Maryland and all along the Simple River produced rice, coffee, sugar, yam, cocoa, cotton, and indigo. In fact, between 1860 and 1870, Brazil, now a major exporter of coffee, and the West Indies were importing Liberian coffee. By 1870, Liberia had even developed shipyards with numerous vessels prominently facilitating regional trade. What went wrong? We need to reflect upon this in our endeavors to rectify where we faltered. In conclusion, it is not too late to regain our footing. and build a more sustainable economy. I believe not, and customs can play a key role. As suggested by the WCO, studies indicate that customs can create a business-friendly environment by fostering stability and predictability. Actions would include streamlining procedures, tackling corruption, enhancing integrity, ensuring that revenue generation and public corporations are compliant. And ensuring that revenue-generating public institutions are compliant and audited, facilitating the legal movement of goods, and ensuring that the masses have access to affordable, good quality goods. In many cases, the latter requires actions to stimulate local production as opposed to importation. By remaining an import-based economy with exports limited to few and processed resources, the government's revenue stream will continue to be heavily influenced by unpredictable external variables, external control of our domestic markets, and exposure to the volatility of prices and demand for Liberian unprocessed resources. The LRA must open close collaboration with stakeholders, especially the Liberian private sector. It cannot act alone without taking into consideration the interests of Liberian entrepreneurs, who are actually the most marginalized. It must engage in the private sector to jointly identify bottlenecks in order to reduce the barriers to trade and offer solutions that are contemporary and address our true needs. Special incentives must be granted to sectors such as tourism, agro-processing, and the protection must be given to Liberian cultural heritage and the creative rights of our artists and artisans, including inventors, painters, musicians, carvers, poets, dancers, and storytellers. While revenue generation is critical, supporting trade diversification and import substitution will create a more vibrant tax system. Burdensome and unpredictable procedures can only negatively affect the investment climate. As I close here, allow me to once again congratulate the LRA, custom officers, and other agencies that support the trade of Liberia.
International Custom Day, RCD, a day to thank all custom officers because they've been taking a risk in serving as border protectors at the Liberian borders across the country. So custom is one part of the protection of border, and then immigration is another one. But this one, based on the need for revenue in Liberia, has become a paramount concern of the Liberian government, quote unquote, the Liberia Revenue Authority, LRA. So today, bringing together dignitaries and other partners to the LRA makes it great for the entire country, Liberia. Everybody being a part of this production, which is today being presented by Alvin Jask and edited by Aaron Cannon. And thanks so much to our driver, of course, who drove us all around the town today. I want to say thanks for being a part of this production. And again, I'm Alvin Jask, and I'll see you next time.
Everybody,